Oh, the last time we left Nursite telling the story about events in Hawaii, we learned quite a bit about this very strange Sorai guy. Well, now we're turning our attention back to the Nomen themselves, and Needle Eye and Narknose are in a bit of a heated discussion as we drop in on them. Chapter 29.
A standoff, Needle Eye barked at me. They'll simply resupply until we starve. But this time chant business is something we haven't heard before. I wonder if it has anything to do with our timeless chant.
How could that have anything to do with the tower? I asked. Narknose cut in. There's no telling, because we've never been too sure of how the tower helps them. Sure, they can see more of the valley and mesa from there, but their village is on the cliffs, which already has a good vantage point. Still, in past times, the presence of the tower meant they had control over the valley. The clans of the Vayabajo were their slaves until the tower was destroyed because of one last great 100-year storm. The adobes of the tower were knocked down into piles of rubble. They didn't rebuild for some reason, and in a couple of winters, the beings of the Vai freed themselves from the Sorai and left them to their desert.
Well, Needle Eye blustered, we can't be wringing our hands and waiting about for another freak storm. He paused. How long has it been since the last one?
Narknose laughed. My great-grandfather and your grandfather were young warriors, so it hasn't been long enough. But it doesn't have to be exactly 100 years between storms.
You may well laugh, Narknose, but we've only got 2 weeks of food, providing we ration it strictly. Not much chance that a storm will blow down the tower in 2 weeks.
The two elders were silent. I took that as my cue. Isn't there a way we can get out and bring back food? Needle Eye brightened.
Yes. I remember emergency exit from my great-grandfather's tales. It was used once in a forest fire. It's a ventilation shaft, quite narrow, that leads to a hollowed-out ash tree in the forest at the southern edge of the meadow north of here. There is a risk of being seen by the Sorais, but not much, as they'll hover around close around the no-home to pounce as we emerge, or the stench of death reaches their dull noses.
Then everyone can escape, I shouted, laughing.
Not so fast,
Narknose said. Yes, I do remember something of the sort from the old stories. Unfortunately, not everyone can leave. The passageway is long and old, so it may have caved in. At best, a few strong people could maybe crawl out. But how could they bring back enough food to feed all of us over time? Besides, the exit would eventually be discovered.
Then we must go for help, I said firmly.
Narknose looked at me as if he were about to put me in my place, but then, yes, help. The boy, a young man, has a point. But who can help us?
Needle Eye hooted. Help, indeed. The Tormen are dull-minded farmers with only magic enough to grow corn and squash. I don't think they would even notice being made slaves by the Sorais. The bats of Lugosi Island are too fragile to hold up against Sorai clubs and spears, besides seeming little interested in our plight. The counselors in Kud and Eda Peralta could heal our wounds, but they are no warriors. So where the hell is our help supposed to come from?
Needle Eye continued to rattle off the clans.
The Kabamen are great warriors, but they are currently without a leader, and because of their size and strength, they think they aren't as threatened by the Sorais as the rest of the clans. The Casmen don't want to be bothered, although they may have no choice. The Corvimen and the Seanoks are too interested in what they can steal to be bothered with thieves and savages like the Sorais. And the northern lands? Who knows their language? Why would they help?
Shut up, Needle Eye, Narknose screamed. Your optimism is overwhelming. never seen Nark-Nose pull rank on Needle Eye so openly. Nark-Nose continued, "Think back, old man. We're talking of ancient times, threats, passageways. But what about ancient solutions? Well, maybe not so ancient. What took place just before the great 100-year storm that humiliated the Sore Eyes?" It was a real question. Needle Eye thought. Then his eyes betrayed the old sparkle. "Of course! You're talking about the Curandera who came from some other place. It was called the Other Valley. According to Pia and Pita, the Peralta steeples. Teresa the Tall One. She was young, possessed great magic and determination, even if it didn't deliver the final blow to their tower. Needle Eye, our young warrior here, has not heard the tale. Tell it, so he'll know it when his time comes to be the storyteller." Needle Eye smiled slightly, trying to remain humble, yet self-important enough to impress me. "Nurse Eye, this story will take practice because some details were given to me by the bats, particularly Nightwing. He has a fancy way of talking. He gathered it from his great-grandfather when Teresa shared her story with him after overhearing what had happened in the Sore Eye village." Nurse Eye paused significantly, checking to see if Don was paying attention. He took a swig of mint tea and continued more deliberately, since he didn't have much practice telling Teresa's story. "And so, the following tale is as it was taught to me by Needle Eye." Well, another story. I guess we'll get back to what's happening right now, but this next story, chapter 30, is a rather long chapter. A lot of things happen there. So I'm going to be breaking it up into about 3 parts over the next few times so that you can not have too much to chew on. Until then, take it easy, and we'll see you. Bye.